All right, thank you. Awesome. Okay, so our next order of business is reading and approval of the agenda. Or reading and approval of. Mm, I made a mistake. I apologize. I should set the agenda, not the minutes, because we don't have minutes from the past meeting. But please look at the agenda, and let me tell you that it's different because I know that we will be having some members who will need to leave early. Um, so I wanted to make sure we get that we get those resolutions voted on before. So that's why they are so early on in the meeting, but normally they would be later on. Um, but yeah, that's the only difference. Um, are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, so there are no corrections. Then the agenda will stand as approved. The next order of business is public comment. Is there any public comment? Okay, if not, then we can move on to the next order of business, which is ex officio reports. So may we please have the report of the advisor?
Another report from Dre Parker. Just an FYI, Dean Ellis will be out of the office today until Wednesday. But if you need anything, feel free to reach out to me or you can reach out to him via email. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next we have the next order of business is old business, and there is no old business. After that, we have new business. So first we have resolution 2020 F1900. And I actually have this right here. Do you guys see this?
Yep.
Yes, okay. So this is the resolution that I created with Tim, and this will be the new seat vacancy application. And this is because the old one is unrealistic during our current situation. So we decided that it's definitely a good idea to create this new one. Um, so let me read it for you. So it's called Resolution 2020 F1900, Amendment to the USGC Vacancy Application, the Undergraduate Student Government Legislative Body, first reading September 14th, 2020, and then second reading and voting. Also, hopefully, Wasan will make it an executive order, so September 14th, 2020. Chief Co-Sponsor, Speaker of the House, Dave Stancheva, Co-Sponsor, Chief of Staff, Timothy Oman. Whereas, due to the present situation, students are unable to get signatures and complete the requirements for the USG vacancy application, and whereas this hinders their ability to be part of USG, and whereas USG would suffer from lack of members, and whereas the current USG vacancy application in Article 7, Section 1, Clause B of the bylaws states as follows. Vacancies of elected positions shall be filled through internal elections. Internal elections shall proceed as follows. 1. The application shall follow the structure in the document, the undergraduate student government for the University of Illinois at Chicago seat vacancy application example. 2. Applicants shall submit appropriate paperwork indicating interest in joining USG to the offices of the Vice President and the Speaker of the House. This paperwork shall be created by the President, Vice President, and Speaker of the House by majority vote and circulated to all voting members by the President before voting. The USG website shall link to resources on campus to help students complete the application. 3. Applicants shall appear before the House of Representatives at general body meetings, at which time the House shall have the opportunity to question applicants. Internal elections shall be held at the next meeting in a committee of the whole. And this just goes after and has a few more things, but the highlighted part is the one that we will be focusing on tonight. So then, let it be resolved that the USGC vacancy application in Article 7, Section 1, Clause B of the bylaws will be amended as follows. Vacancies of each position of elected positions shall be filled through internal elections. Internal elections shall proceed as follows. 1. applicants shall be required to submit a seat vacancy application as determined by the President, Speaker of the House, and Chief of Staff. 2. Applicants shall be required to contact a committee chair member to introduce themselves. 3. Applicants shall appear before the House of Representatives at a general body meeting, in person or virtually, at which time the House shall have the opportunity to question applicants. Internal elections shall be held during the same meeting. And this is just a few more things that we did not change. So it's pretty much only the highlighted stuff that we changed to basically make it the application that we currently have, which includes completing a seat vacancy application, contacting a committee chair, and giving a speech before the House of Representatives. So are there, I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Are there any questions or comments on this? Okay, so there doesn't seem to be any questions or comments. So Hassan, would you like to take
Yeah,
it from here?
sure. In that case, then I'd like to issue an executive order to expedite voting on this resolution to today.
Okay, so the president has moved to make this resolution an executive order, so we will vote on it today. All those in favor of adopting resolution 2020 F1 900, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, awesome. All right, so that would be all of the voting members. So that would be Misty, Jocelyn, and Samprithi. You guys will be voting. Samprithi, I didn't hear you vote for this. So would you like to vote for, or how would you like to vote for this resolution?
I would like to say aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you. So resolution 2020 F1 900 has passed. Next we have resolution 2020 F1 1100. So Wasan, would you like to take it from here?
Absolutely, thank you. So this resolution is called a ban of webcam monitoring spyware in academic programs. And it reads, whereas the student body faces a number of challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic, including the transition to hybrid, remote, and on-campus learning, the undergraduate student government recognizes the strain this places on faculty, graduate teaching assistants, and students. And whereas Respondus Lockdown Browser has been implemented at UIC in various courses as a means to monitor and record a student's environment and seize control over their computer. This web browser is a downloaded tool which some faculty require to be launched before assessments to record through your webcam device. And whereas there are clear ethical and civil liberties concerns for students being monitored in their own homes, the use of student data without a dedicated Bill of Rights has been challenged by faculty unions, and I refer to other faculty unions. This level of monitoring presents a form of trauma to students, particularly BIPOC students who have been historically overly surveilled. Clearly, the stressful environment of a test or quiz is not one. Whereas, as evidenced by the Zoom and Blackboard outage on August 24, 2020, an over-reliance on web-based technologies for education is often harmful. Internet outages at the university or at home can lead to Respondus malfunction and forfeiture of control over your device for a period of time. Students who lack webcam access or printer access are given the added burden of procuring these devices. And whereas Respondus has been banned at institutions due to the clear concerns, including the University of California at Berkeley, and faced significant student and faculty criticisms at the University of California at Santa Barbara. An internet search indicates 23 change.org petitions to prevent the use of Respondus and 26 to prevent the use of HonorLock, with thousands of supporters at several higher education institutions. Our very own Academic Computing and Communication Center has recommended against the use of these software tools. Then let it be resolved that USG rejects the use of webcam monitoring software and lockdown browsers as part of academic programs. The USG calls upon Provost Susan Poser to issue a campus-wide ban on these mechanisms. We recommend instead professors who have concerns of cheating pursue alternate avenues that are non-punitive. This includes, but is not limited to, open notes assessments or group assessments.
All right, thank you. So I would like to open up the floor for discussion. Does anyone have any comments or questions regarding this resolution?
Yeah, so if this resolution were to be passed, it would basically be like a recommendation to administration to ban this, or is it like a more like an order, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it would be passed on to the Academic Senate, So we'd send it over to the Faculty Senate, and Secretary Elizabeth Dooley would then like look over it, make any like recommendations or changes. They would vote on it themselves. Then we'd probably send it over to the Provost's office and see what she says. We'd probably have a meeting at some point to discuss this with her.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I have a question. So after it's passed, like, is it going to be like the students will have an option to choose whether they want their webcam or to be on or the lockdown browser? Or is it going to be like, no, it's just like you cannot have any of these on?
Yeah, so the idea would be, again, to kind of focus more on the software itself. So I don't know if like we technically would have sort of an impetus to claim that we would want like no webcam use whatsoever. We could definitely do something separate with regards to that. But for this, it's like really just like a focus on like Respondus and other sorts of like lockdown browsers that have been problematic at other institutions and have caused a lot of problems for a lot of students here as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Other questions or comments? Okay, so if there are no further comments, we will be voting on this resolution next week. Next, we have Resolution 2020-FO1-1101. So, Hassan?
Cool, thank you. So this resolution is called In Support of #FreeUIC. It kind of started when organizers from the Black Graduate Student Association and the GEO kind of reached out to us to talk about supporting a couple of organizing activities that they have launched and are continuing to launch. And so it reads, whereas the Black Graduate Student Association, Graduate Employees Organization, and Students for a Democratic Society held a rally on August 22nd, 2020 at UIC Chancellor Michael Emeritus' home. Their goal was to advocate for a no vote on the Fraternal Order of Police union contract with the UIC Police Department. Police unions are often in opposition to significant policing reform and may protect officers accused of misconduct through closed-door arbitration. A link to their two demands can be found here, and they're linked there. Then let it be resolved that USG supports the calls of these activists in pushing for a safer and more equitable UIC campus with a reduced police budget / presence and increased access to safety resources and community investment.
All right, so I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Any comments or questions regarding this resolution? So I have a question. So what exactly are the two demands? I know they're linked, but I would like to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. The first one was for a conversation with the chancellor and other senior administrative officials between them and organizers in sort of like a public setting. Now, that's actually something that we're working towards to have sometime like early mid-October-ish to talk about public safety, to talk about their demands. So that was the first demand. The second demand is an end to this contract, the Fraternal Order of Policing contract.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, give me a second. I'm thinking. Okay, so I agree with this 100%. I'm glad this is a conversation. But aside from this specific resolution, like what are we actually like doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question. So far over the summer, we've spent a lot of time working on this, and I'll probably talk about this more like in my report specifically. But like we've been part of a lot of these like weekly meetings with like the Abolition Collective, with like the BGSA, and they've also like formed a coalition which they call the Good Trouble Coalition. And so they've invited us to like be coalition partners and like join in with them on these various programs with specific regards to this like this contract. Nothing beyond what we've already, like what this resolution says here and supporting like their rally, etc. With regards to policing overall at UIC, there is like a lot that's going on. And obviously this is a conversation that does need to be had over a much longer period of time. But one of the things that we're looking at right now is like the formation of this like police safety board, various like sort of accountability measures that go along with that. And just like a further continued conversation alongside these organizers and these other students who are pushing for this sort of change. And one piece of that, of course, is like I mentioned here, right? Like having this sort of seat at the table where there is like this conversation with administrators and with these organizers in a more public forum where it's not the sort of like closed-door arbitration that we're trying to push against.
Cool. Thank you.
There's also, I guess, space to, perhaps this could be like another resolution or something, but the UIC safety alerts that we get, perhaps looking closer at those to see the language that they use and how to make sure that that's appropriate.
Any other questions? Comments? Concerns? Okay, so if not, Wasan, did you want to make this an executive order, or did you want to vote on it next week?
I was hoping to vote on it next week when we have more
Okay.
members, just to kind of further conversation again.
All right, no problem. So if there are no further comments from anyone, then we can vote on this next week. So then we have Resolution 2020-F01-1102.
Thanks. So this one's called In Support of SEIU Local 73 and INA. This is in regards to the ongoing strike. And it reads, whereas the Service Employees International Union, SEIU, Local 73, and Illinois Nurses Association, INA, representing 1,400 nurses and 4,000 technical staff across the UI hospital system, have declared intent to begin a strike on Monday, September 14th and Saturday, September 12th, respectively. Their demands are here. I linked them again, but just to kind of enumerate on the demands, specifically they're talking about increased PPE resources for these workers who are in these specific clinical sites, and also, of course, like technical workers who are often on the front lines of like everything at UIC, as well as like hazard pay and other things like that. And again, just let it be resolved that USG supports the call of these union leaders in pushing for a safe working environment at UIC.
Awesome. I'm opening up the floor for discussion. Any comments or questions regarding this resolution? Anything? Okay, so if not, then we can vote on this next week.
Actually, Daisy, sorry, I meant to tell you this earlier. I was hoping we could vote on this today just because the strike is like ongoing.
Okay.
So I was hoping to issue an executive order to expedite voting to this resolution to tonight.
Okay, awesome. So you can go ahead and make that motion.
Yeah, I moved to issue an executive order to expedite voting on this resolution to this meeting.
Okay, so the president has moved to make this resolution an executive order, so we will vote on it today. All voting members in favor of adopting Resolution 2020-F01-1102, please say aye.
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 Okay, so that's all of our voting members. So this resolution has passed. Awesome. All right, so then we have Resolution 2020-F1-401. So Aitana, would you like to present this to us?
Yeah, of course. All right. So this is called Promotional Content Timetable. Whereas a central responsibility of the Public Relations Committee is to promote and create imagery within the committee's capabilities for events and announcement at a representative's request. And whereas, as the demands for social media promotion, such as events and announcements, increase, the Public Relations Committee wants to ensure proper promotion of each event by requesting USG representatives to notify and/or involve PRC with their event plans so that we, as a community, can efficiently design imagery that best suits that event and can promote that event with a repetitive approach through USG's social media, for example, Instagram, Facebook stories, reposting, etc. Then let it be resolved, USG representatives will contact and/or involve the Public Relations Committee with their events, preferably 2 weeks in advance and with a 1 week minimum regarding the promotion and creation of imagery of their planned event. Let it be further resolved, this system will ensure proper promotion and imagery of the event. That's all. Thank you.
Awesome. So I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Any comments or questions?
I do have a question. Was this written as kind of a qualm? Like, do you feel like this isn't being done right now out of curiosity?
It's just that sometimes events pop out. Events pop out, and it's just like less than a week. But I just want to make it set in stone and make it present there and solidified instead of just like having it in the air. You know.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so there are no comments. We can vote on this next week. So let's see. All right, so after the resolutions, now we can move on to the next order of business, which is officer reports. So may we please have the report of the president?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Daisy. And I hope everyone's had a great start to the semester. It's definitely been like super interesting to be online and to also like have people come to USG meetings. So like I appreciate it a ton that y'all make the effort to be here. But yeah, I am just like refiling the report from last time to kind of talk a lot about the stuff that had been going on since then. And so we've worked broadly on like 4 separate areas at UIC, like the first one being like focusing on like racial justice on campus. So I've been going to these like weekly meetings with like BGSA and everyone who's like put together this coalition, which they're calling the Good Trouble Coalition, to talk about racial justice, to talk about policing, to talk about safety from more of like a student perspective. So we've been doing that. And then we had like this USG-led town hall way back in July with like senior administrative officials to kind of make sure there was like community participation in their processes, because they did want to make change when it comes to race equity on campus, but a lot of that change kind of came from above. So making sure that we have like student representation, and there were a fair number of people there. There were a couple hundred people there who showed up and asked the important questions to talk about the change that they wanted to see. And so some of the reforms that we were able to work with like Black student leaders and kind of organize some meetings with were to like talk about their demands. And so that's everything from like the UIC PD oversight board to like more UIC like student patrols with like less PD involvement, changing UIC alert system like we just talked about, curriculum changes for gen eds, ensuring that there's like funding to the counseling center that goes towards like diversifying their staff, increasing hiring diversity and enrollment and retention of Black students. So these are all like part of like the demands letter that they released. And so far we've already seen some of these things happen at UIC, like the UIC PD oversight board, as well as like this like new faculty pipeline program. And so we are like trying to continue this conversation again, like with organizers, and be able to allow for a better sort of community participation. And so with that, like they've organized like a sit-in, and they're looking at other sorts of projects over the next coming months. But specifically like with USG, we're looking to put together an event with them and with the administration, sort of like a conversational style that's like open to the entire campus community. So the students, staff, faculty here at UIC, and kind of advertise to everyone through like the UIC's like public government affairs like lists that they have of everyone that works here. That's like one like big piece of what we've been doing. The other aspect is of course like the safe and effective like reopening of the university through COVID-19. So like I was part of like this monitoring containment working group where I worked with like administrators, public health professors, infectious disease physicians on like COVID-19 monitoring. And we put together this like report for the chancellor. And some of the specific things that we were able to make change were like the quarantine protocols, like including access that everyone would have to like a care manager, including access to like timely meal delivery, and the counseling center support groups that we've created, as well as like the transparency in COVID-19 cases, which is now part of like the COVID-19 dashboard that we have. We also like stood against some specific things that they were looking to do, like creating like a student liability waiver, which we don't have, creating like doorbell cameras in the quarantine dorms, which we also were able to successfully change, as well as reducing the number of courses where people are going to be in person, so that we would be able to significantly like reduce the population of people that are going to be on campus and potentially exposed to COVID-19. We also were able to like have like a town hall with all the administrators to talk about what the changes are going to be like, especially for new students. And we're looking to do something in the future, again, kind of like as like a review before the end of the semester with the grad student council and other student councils to kind of just keep updated and to talk about what changes need to be done. We were also able to like lobby the provost office to create a new tutoring system where like they've now like centralized all of the tutoring online. So it's like all on like their website. And we're kind of planning this like CSI student engagement town hall for student leaders and are like working in solidarity with like the UIC faculty union, the UIC graduate student union, to kind of like be this like student representation board that talks about the different sorts of like safety measures that we need on campus that haven't been addressed so far. So there's some of the things that like we've worked on like since like May. We're also like looking forward towards like academic policy changes. Like there's like this like respondents bill that we're doing, but like also the potential for sort of like grading changes, like a universal pass system, stuff that we talked about previous semesters that the provost was like kind of not sure about implementing. Then we like went on to like work with like international students for like various to create like a list of demands for protections for international students, which had like 1,400 signatories. And then we released this to like campus administrators. We also like made this like on-campus class registration list and also like these spaces for healing with the counseling center. And then the last piece that we worked on was specifically like Title IX and like sexual harassment policy on campus, where we like worked with this like Title IX coordinator as well as like the task force and students, especially like Dawson Aranda Ortiz, who's here, to kind of talk about some of the changes that we need to see with the new Title IX regulations as they're being implemented. So we did that, and now like kind of the plan is to work on creating like infographics and other sorts of like videos and other sorts of programs to disseminate this knowledge, as well as like various programming events to talk about like advocacy, to talk about like sexual harassment prevention, and to talk about other sorts of like safety changes that students want to see on campus with regards to this. So that's my short report, I guess.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Wasan?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Remember the flu vaccine campaign that like they were gonna reach out to us about?
Yeah.
Did they ever talk to you about it?
They did not email me. So Bayan's talking specifically about like the College of Pharmacy wants to launch a flu vaccine campaign to get 70% of all students on campus vaccinated for the flu. And so we're trying to like help them like reach their goals and stuff like that. I have not heard back from them, so I'm guessing that means that they haven't purchased the vaccines just yet, or they haven't came in yet.
Any other questions? Okay, so if not, that means that the report of the president will be filed. Next, we have the report of the vice president.
Hey everyone. Again, hope classes and everything are going okay. This is kind of a reiteration of things that I've been saying, but the progress is kind of taking things piece by piece. So more updates about like the Mental Health Coalition is last week we met with a student from UIC's John Marshall Law School to kind of provide not legal advice because he's not allowed to do that, but some kind of information or just oversight over some of the things that we wanted to do. So the biggest piece that we're focusing on is like a triage survey, and we're kind of in the middle of deciding whether that's more of like a logistical survey that we can put on the counseling center's website, or if it's more of like a situational survey. So the difference between the two is like a logistic survey would kind of take you through a series of questions that asks you what kind of help you'd like to look for. So like whether you prefer online or in person, are you looking for counseling, or are you looking for like the cultural center, those kind of things, versus like a situational survey would be more along the lines of what's going on. But there's a lot of like legal liability that comes with that. So kind of finding a sweet spot in between. And then again, the eventual goal is to lead students to be able to find the resources on campus in a clear, concise, and very directed manner, so that the resources are being utilized and so that students feel supported. And then there's a lot of liability issues there also in terms of like data collection, so figuring out how to navigate around that. Furthermore, we're expecting to receive a list of all of the appropriate wellness resources that are on campus from Ms. Josephine Volpe, who is in charge of the iAdvise system. In case some of you guys have been seeing more of the iAdvise emails and things like that, I think they're trying to transition more into using that. But essentially that system allows advisors to have kind of not necessarily profiles on students, but a student won't necessarily have to explain their situations again and again to every advisor that they meet with. So it's a way of centralizing the advising system. And so she was going to send us the list that they compiled for that purpose. And then we were going to kind of implement that as like the end goal of our triage survey. And then the other part of that whole project is kind of creating focus groups for students to get a better understanding of what exactly students would respond to and what exactly they'd like to see. So if anyone has suggestions of kind of questions they have on their own or questions that they think that would be helpful to get the answers to, feel free to send them my way, or we can talk about it. And then the last part that we kind of need to focus on is looking for students to be involved in the technical aspect of creating the survey and kind of figuring out how it would be implemented on the website, and yeah, the technological components of that. And that is it. Are there any questions?
Okay, so I don't have a question, but I have to tell you about something. So, like, I wonder if your coalition would be able to help with this. So, you know how the counseling center has like partnered up with us for We Belong, and we're having it every Monday, and they were like generous enough with us to. It was supposed to end like last week, but they said that hey, like we'll continue having it like in case people show up, right? And today we had it at 11, but we didn't have anyone at 10. So we are wondering, like, they asked me, like, what do you think is the problem? So I told them it could be like two things. It could be timing, or it could be the way we're advertising it. So they asked us to emphasize that people will be connecting with counseling counseling center psychologists. So we're gonna be doing that. Like we're gonna change up the flyer and stuff, and like we're gonna advertise it through culture centers too, and can. But I was wondering if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, so that's part of the thing, right? Is I feel like a lot of the events and things surrounding mental health are often super like scattered and all over the place in terms of like there's not one place to look at where you can see all of what's going on or like what could potentially be helpful, and it kind of gets lost in like the crowd of everything else. So part of that is destigmatizing that conversation, but then the other part is making sure it's in a place that's visible to students. So if we update the counseling center's website, which is like another part of this whole process, updating the counseling center's website so that it's a lot more clear cut and obvious what's going on. And it's kind of like you can go to the counseling center's website and you can see like this is when the next available appointment is, or these are the events that are going on this week. Um, just changing their website in itself,
Yeah,
or just the landing page would be really helpful. And then that's something
yeah, I
that
agree.
is published over there.
Okay, makes sense. I'll let them know actually. I'll let them know that you said that too, because they're like they kind of like have no idea. They think it's more of a like on the students side. They think that we like know why this is happening, but I honestly like don't know. So I'll let them know.
Any other questions for Hannah? Okay, so if not, then the report of the Vice President will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Treasurer.
What's up, everyone? Not really a long report, but the budget has been divided somewhat, and I'm just waiting for the Dean of Students to respond and clarify about the Dean of Students worker, because last year we spent a lot of money on that, and so I want that clarified. And so once that's done, I'll hopefully by next meeting the budget will be done and Wasan can do an executive order and we can get it passed and start spending money. Other than that, if you have any questions, let me know.
Quick question. Have you spoken with anyone in the Dean of Students office regarding the budget for the student workers?
I've sent an email, but they haven't responded yet.
Okay. And who did you send the email to?
To the Dean of Students RFF email.
All right. Okay. All right, thanks. I'll follow up.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Anshu? Okay, so if not, the report of the treasurer will be filed. Next we have the report of the speaker, so that will be my report. Okay, I'm gonna have to do it in two parts. But basically, so for my report, in the past week, sometime last week, I think, I met with Tim. And we talked about the Constitution and what are some of the requirements for members and for both for representatives and for executive board members. We also discussed possible solutions for time conflicts. So if anyone is having a time conflict for this meeting because we were informed that we are having interest from a good amount of international students. So we want to make sure that that there is some solution to the difference in the time zones. Make sure that the students are able to still participate in USG even if they are in a different place and a different time. And we have to keep talking about this. But this we will let you know when as soon as we know for sure what we're doing. So then I also met with Wasan. That was a while back, I think. I think about 2 weeks ago, and we talked about virtual Roberts rules. So for right now, it's fine because we don't have that many members yet. But once we get our new members, I'll be asking you guys to raise your hand when you want to make a comment, except for certain exceptions that are outlined in Roberts rules. Um, so like for example, the way to do that would be, how to do this? There is on your bottom screen on Zoom, it should give you the option to give the hand emoji, and that's how we can make sure that we see it. Okay, thank you. I see that. So that's how we can do that starting next meeting. For this meeting, it's fine because again, we don't have that many people, but for next meeting, I'm hoping we can implement that. And also, Wasan and I also talked about the new member orientation. So for the new member orientation, that will be happening on Friday, September 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. So that is the same week. That's next week, actually. Next week after we vote in the new members. And they will have to attend the new member orientation so that we can teach them about Robert's rules, about RFFs, talk to them about deputy chair positions, etc. So that's happening then. And I'm hoping that the chairs can also attend those. But yeah, so then also the seat vacancy application that we actually voted on this, so this is not relevant anymore. But I just wanted to reiterate that applicants need to do the application, reach out to a committee chair. They already should have done that, and if they haven't, then they cannot move on with the application. The deadline for the email was last night at midnight. So if you attended or if you received rather emails from today, that's already too late, and they missed the deadline. So unfortunately, they cannot move forward. But just overall, the new members will also have to come to our meeting next week, and they will have to present their speech of why or what they should do as a USG member, and also they will have to answer some of our questions if we have any. We're going to be asking each person that presents um, who is the committee chair that they contacted, so that we can make sure that they did contact someone, and then we will verify that with the chair in real time. And then also committee chairs, keep communicating with the applicants who contacted you, because once again, you are their only point of contact at this point um, with USG. So make sure that you're, you know, talking to them, answering the questions, etc. And then lastly, but most importantly, please, please, please send me your reports by Friday at midnight, because that is a part of your position duties according to the bylaws. And please make sure you're doing that. So that is my report. Um, I will talk more about the new member orientation later on, but are there any questions regarding anything that I said? Questions, comments?
I have a question about the deputy chair positions.
Mhm.
Is it up to the committee chair to decide, or should we have deputy for each committee?
Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, you know how like we're telling like in new member orientation, we're telling them about the deputy positions
Yes.
in the committees.
Mhm.
So is it for each committee? Is there a position,
Yes.
or
Yes. So
do
there
you
will
like
be
choose?
every so members will be divided up for committees. So once you get your members, each committee chair will have to pick a deputy chair. In case something happens, you can't make a meeting, you have to have someone to read your report. And I will also be picking an interim speaker as well. But that can be, yeah, every committee has one. Was that your question?
Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh yeah, sorry. Just one other like point of clarification, like with regards to everyone's applications, I'm going to share that with everyone at the end of this meeting. Since we've passed a resolution now, there's about 34 new applicants. So please, like sometime over this week, just like review the application as you see it in the Google form. If you don't get a chance to, like I completely understand, we're definitely going to have time to do that as well at next meeting.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, if not, then the speaker's report will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Chief of Staff.
Okay. Hey everyone, I hope you guys had a good Monday, and I hope all your classes have been going on well for the past 3 weeks. So really quickly, I'm just going to tell you a couple of the current things I'm working on. This is with Wasin. We want to do a town hall with student engagement, student leaders, both from the administration side and from the student side. We'll send out a survey, and we're trying to get Joy to help us from CSI to send out this survey and talk about what they liked about the virtual environment fair and what are some of the things that they want to see in the future. I had a meeting with Daisy day before yesterday, and we talked about the Constitution. We talked about the new vacancy application, and that's something we need to talk to with DOS, get the Constitution stuff ready. Next, I've talked to Bayan, and we are in touch with Kevin Kane to give us a list of all the FSL organizations and their contact persons, president, VP, third officer, and their own like higher councils. And finally, Michelle will talk to you more about this. We want to set up a meeting with SAB in the future. And finally, we have the Graduate Student Council meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. I hope you all can make it. I will send out a link, the Zoom link to all of you. That's it from my side. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Is the meeting, the town hall, are we trying to do it virtual with the engagement office?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then for the graduate council, is it okay if we talk about we belong at the meeting, or is it like strictly what something specific?
No, we can talk about the We Belong event at the meeting. Yes. So the GSC meeting is tomorrow 2 p.m. I'll send out a new follow-up email. All right, that's it. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if I can make it. That's the thing. But okay, if I can't make it, I'll like let you know. I'll decide and let you know, and I'll tell you what to say at the meeting. Okay? Because the counseling center like really want them to be involved.
Okay, thank you very much, Baran. I appreciate
Of
it.
course.
All right, so this is to everyone. Have a good week. Enjoy classes. Right. See you next week.
Any other questions for Tim?
Hey Tim, it's Aitana here.
Yes.
Do you have a flyer for the event that you'd like me to post on our social?
Which event are you talking about?
The tomorrow event, the town hall.
No, the town hall is not tomorrow. The graduate student council and us meeting is tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I got these
No,
mixed
no,
up.
no. That's fine. We're still trying to get in touch. We're not getting. What we wanted to do was first send out the survey, get students' feedback, right? What they want to see, and then have a targeted like town hall to address those questions and issues.
Okay.
And that will be let's see, it's the 14th of September. Hopefully by the end of this month we can get that done. Is there any? Would anybody like to follow? And are there any other questions, comments, concerns?
I had a really quick question.
Hey, Dalia.
I was wondering what the status of the USG calendar is.
Are we talking about a calendar of events?
Yeah, the one that I gave you when we were doing transition stuff.
Okay. I will get back to you via text message, and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look into it and I'll get back to you.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Wait, should we just combine the calendar with the newsletter? Do you think that's more effective than having to like? What's the purpose of the calendar?
I think the calendar would be better for. Oh, sorry, someone's raising their hand.
Yeah, Jocelyn, go ahead.
Cool. So I feel like the calendar definitely. Actually, can we move this for discussion to table this for discussion?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Table this for discussion.
So would that be okay, so items for discussion. All right. So are there any other questions for Tim then? Okay, so if not, the report of the Chief of Staff will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee Chair.
Hi everyone. So I'll quickly like go over my report. So yeah, we're like as you know, we're still working with Ken on the campaign against sexual violence, and we're gonna be like involving FSL. Like Tim mentioned, we're still talking to Kevin to give us all like the info of the board members and everything. So we're gonna be reaching out to them, having meetings, and presenting the idea. Aitana is helping us out with the infographics, so that's pretty good. So I've been attending Culture Center's open houses. I think all of them except for African American and gender and sexuality, because they like didn't confirm. So I just assumed that they like can't have as part of their program, which is fine. But so most importantly, I'll be working with Dr. Zatari. She's from the Arab American Culture Center. They want us to support their MENA campaign. It's just basically asking the university to add MENA category in the race like part of any applications or any paperwork that the university sends out to students. MENA stands for Middle Eastern and North African descent, or like, you know, ethnicity. and they like want us to draft a resolution to support that. So I'll be working with them on that. And yeah, so we finally have the listserv for the newsletter. I'm gonna actually link the, wait, hold up. I'm gonna link, hold up, okay. Okay, this is the link to subscribe. So whoever is here and wants to subscribe. So cabinet members, don't worry about it, I'll add you. But all of our visitors today, I see we have a lot of visitors. So you can use the link and I can add you to subscription list, and you can get our bi-weekly newsletter. Very cool initiative, I think. It's oh, and we're gonna have a member spotlight now, USG member spotlight, and we'll be adding a person every 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that. And We Belong, we already talked enough about We Belong. I'm not gonna go over it. And lastly, I don't know, is Misty still here? Anyway, oh Misty, hey, she's still here. Thank you for attending um, the Women's Leadership and Resource Culture Center open house. They sent an email for feedback. I don't know if you got it, but if not, I'll send it to you because they like need some feedback on their event. And that's it. I can answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, so I see two people raise their hand. I'm having trouble seeing who it is. Jocelyn?
No, that was an accident. It didn't go down by itself.
Okay, there was one more person who raised it, so whoever that is, feel free to go ahead.
Oh, it's me, Misty. But I was just gonna say no problem, Brian. Actually, I was about to text you, but something else that did come out good about the open house was that I was able to talk to Dr. Ada, so I will be looking on to collaborating again so that we can do that ROTC fight sexual misconduct.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. She really likes working with us. So just let me know like if you guys have any like meetings or anything, I can join you.
For sure.
Awesome. So Jocelyn, did you have a comment? Or was that something else?
No,
Okay.
I was just saying that's cool that Misty's still doing that. That's pretty cool.
All right. Thank you. And thank you guys for sticking with me as I'm trying to navigate this as well. But are there any more questions for Bayan? Okay. So if not, the report of the chairwoman of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Legislative Affairs Committee chair.
Hi guys. I hope you guys have had a good first 4 weeks of uni. I know it's kind of been really crazy and all over the place, but especially as exams are starting to pick up and assignments are starting to get really hectic, I hope you guys are all taking care of yourselves. My first thing is the Why We Vote video form. I sent out a link. Me and Aitana worked on that, and I sent out a link, I believe, last weekend. So, and I only have 4 responses. So if you guys have, I'll put the link in the chat again, but make sure you guys do fill this out. If you feel like, if you're not going to be voting in the elections or you're not eligible, and you don't want to be part of the video, just send me a text or shoot me an email and just let me know of that so I'm not like waiting for your response. In regards to that, yeah, like I'm gonna put the link in chat and then just as soon as possible, fill it out. It is really simple to fill out. There's like 2 longer questions, so just kind of keep that in mind. In regards to the second step for that, once you've filled it out, if you are a committee head and you've been getting applications from students, can you like round up all of your students on an email and send this link out to them as well? Just because when they do officially join USG, we have something to go off of, and I don't have to send them the link right away. So yeah, just kind of fill it out. If you're getting applications from new members or prospective members, send this form to them as well. We do need to get this video out as soon as possible, just because like I have a very strict deadline for when voting happens and things like that, and we want to push out as much like material as possible before that date. So yeah, I'm putting it in the chat. That's the link. If you're a prospective member and you're here at this meeting today, be sure to fill it out. So yeah. My next thing is throughout the past 3 weeks or so, I've been in meetings with SAB, PERG, the Student Leadership and Civic Engagement Office, and Fraternity and Sorority Life, all working on things pertaining to voter retention and election judging and things like that. If you're in a different committee, or if you are interested in being in part of these meetings, maybe you're in a different org that's working on voter retention. Maybe you've been talking to an org that's working on voter retention. I'd love to be able to like work with you and see what things that you'd be interested in doing. So definitely let me know. All of these meetings, we've been planning events and things like that. More concrete things on these events are going to be sent out for sure very soon. So kind of just keep a lookout for that. And I'll have more updates as the weeks go by. So yeah, and then me and Aitana again are working on publishing some material for National Voter Registration Day. So do look out for that when that day does roll around.
All right, awesome. Are there any questions or comments for Dahlia? Make sure to fill out that form. It's very quick, very easy. And voting is important, so do it. But with that being said, the report of the chairwoman of the Legislative Affairs will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Public Relations Committee Chair.
Hello. So for my report, there's not much. Since the last meeting, I've been continuing to maintain our social media, such as Instagram, Facebook, and the website. For Facebook, CAN, which is Campus and Advocacy Network, invited us to co-host an event with them. I've just been working with CAN on a lot of events and then helping them promote and then asking them to promote stuff from USG. And then I've updated the website on the application process, including Daisy's video and just reworking the website and some stuff. Tonight, I'll be updating the events so that all future events this semester, such as like our general body meetings, will be on the website so that members know when we're gonna hold meetings. And then, as I mentioned, I've been working with her for the voting video. And then my main focus of the moment is working on the Title IX graphics, getting that done before September 25th so we can get the ball rolling with Wilson and buy-in. Yes.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Aitana? Questions, comments? Okay, so if not, the report of the chairwoman of the Public Relations Committee will be filed. Next, we have the report of the Student Affairs Committee Chair. Marian, is Marian here? Is anyone reading Marian's report?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. All right, awesome, thank you. So next we have the report of the Campus Life Committee Chair.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone had a great Labor Day break, and I hope classes are going well. Last week, we didn't have a newsletter because of the break, and activities will resume this week, I believe. And Bayan and Aitan already talked a little about it. So I had a meeting with Mental Health Coalition as well, the same thing Hannah talked about. And I'm still working on the How to Ask for Help workshop. And basically now I'm just kind of brainstorming for ideas. And once we get committee members, we'll really get the ball rolling. And another thing that I started on this week was working on a student complaint survey, which is something that I hope will help students kind of easily contact us via our link tree. And it'll help us address problems directly and gauge student issues in different areas. So like campus housing, etc. And I also worked on a short safety survey for Wasan. Hopefully we'll be able to get that up and hear back from some students. And I compiled a list of questions for Wellness Center, and I'll send it to them, and hopefully an FAQ will be out soon. And thank you to everyone who came out to the involvement fair and who's here today. And I hope to see you all soon.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions, comments? Okay, so if not, the report of the chairwoman of the Campus Life Committee will be filed. Let's see. The next order of business is items for discussion. So the first item for discussion that I kind of touched on would be the new member orientation. So the new member orientation, as I mentioned, will be on September 25th, next Friday, from 6 to 8 p.m. I'm working on that with Wasan, Hannah, and Tim. And I'm hoping that all of the e-board will be able to attend because we do want you there to talk about your committee, talk about deputy chairs, etc. Um, and just overall for new members, we'll be talking about, like I'll be teaching everyone how to use Robert's rules, but especially in this virtual environment. And then hopefully Anshu can be there so we can talk about RFFs and how to submit that. And yeah, I'm hoping you guys can make it. But I wanted to ask, do you have any suggestions for things that we should do during the new member orientation? I know most of you had one last year, so any suggestions, anything, comments?
Wait, I was trying to raise my hand, but I really can't like see where that
Yeah,
feature
go
is.
ahead.
So can I go?
Yes.
I was just gonna say, so it's gonna be virtual, right? Okay,
Yes.
so maybe still like send the maybe like mail the agenda and the water bottle to members, because I mean that was like really cool part of it.
Got it.
That's my suggestion.
Thank you. Anything else?
Could you please repeat the date and time? Oh, I see you. Nothing.
Anything else? All right, so we can talk about attendance from the e-board. We can do that sometime later, but I'm going to probably in our group me. I'm gonna ask you guys if you're available, and let me know if not, so then we can arrange something around that. Um, But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Unless there are any comments regarding the new member orientation. Okay, so if not, I know earlier we talked about the newspaper and the calendar. So would someone like to talk about that? Jocelyn?
Yeah, it's more of a question than maybe I'll continue. I heard there's gonna be a newsletter um involved. I know there was already a calendar that was implemented last semester. I don't know who's doing the newsletter, but like how do I say this? Is the newsletter just for USG or for the entire school?
So
It's for USG, so it's me, Michelle, and Aitana working on it, and we released like the first part, like the whatever, and it's on like Instagram right now, but figure out the listserv, right? To like create a listserv and then send it directly to people's emails. So we did that, and right now that's like what we're doing. And then like we're gonna see if we have to include it on the website. We probably won't have to. We'll just have the Google link where people can sign up to like subscribe to.
and the newsletter is
But
basically
it's USG, strictly USG. Yeah, go ahead, Michelle. Sorry.
It's okay. The newsletter is supposed to be more kind of in depth. I guess like it shows students like what events are happening, not necessarily USG events, but like people can come to us and advertise their events on our newsletter. And then we'll include the description and everything. And from my understanding, I think the calendar is a little more concise.
Okay, that makes sense. So it seems like they're both doing mostly the same thing. As they're both strictly for USG. Um, this is my opinion. I know a lot of the cultural centers use newsletters to like spread their information to other cultural centers or other departments at UIC. I would suggest if you're gonna do a newsletter, not to specifically make it strictly for USG, but to spread that newsletter to cultural centers or other departments of at the university, just to spread out those events that are happening from other organizations, and they're not staying only within the USG program. Those events should be going and be spreading out to the rest of the student body, as we are not the only ones that make up the student body. It would be essential as other organizations are giving you information and for us to process the information for the rest of the university. That way we can have the calendar strictly for ourselves. And like, depending on what method the calendar is going to be at, everyone has access to it in USG. That's just an opinion, of course. But yeah, because like if we have like a newsletter and it's just strictly to us and it goes in depth just for us, it's going to be reaching, and if we get like the vacancies, it's going to be reaching like what, 50 people only instead of like reaching 32,000 people. Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
just a
Yeah, thank you, Jocelyn. Yeah, that's great idea. We so like during our meetings with the cultural centers, we did tell them about the newsletter and that um we are like featuring them. So every 2 weeks we're gonna be featuring cultural center. So time we released it, we featured Disability Culture Center. So we included the guide that they created. We included their events and like more information on their events. So every like 2 weeks we reach out to a new culture center, and we like don't really have to reach out to them because like I'm signed up to subscribed to all of their newsletters. So I like receive all of their information and then we add it on our newsletter. So this week we're actually gonna be doing the Asian American Cultural Center because they have their open house next week. So tomorrow actually, and we're part of that as well. And the other thing about it reaching people, like that's definitely our number 1 goal. That's why we created the Google form, and hopefully, like once we reach out to culture centers and be like, hey, like can you release it, and then they have people sign up for it, then hopefully it'll like start reaching more and more people.
Yeah, just to clarify, the newsletter is not just for USG members. Anyone can sign up via the link. So that's like for the entire student body.
Oh, okay, okay. And that's gonna be on the website, correct?
Yes, the link's on the.
Okay, cool. Cool. Thank you.
Any other points about the newsletter or calendar?
It
Yeah,
looks
so
really
what's
good.
the final decision? Oh, thank you. What's the final decision? Should we just combine them, the calendar and the newsletter? I think it's like becoming redundant.
So wasn't the calendar and Dahlia, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the calendar mostly for USG members for us to know when the events are happening?
So the calendar, the reason me and Daniela created the calendar last year was to put in all of the spaces that were general body meetings, that were specific office hours for specific heads, and committee meetings. And then along with that, any events that were held by USG or sponsored by USG. It was kind of created to be a one-stop spot for virtually all the USG events in whatever capacity that they were held and what their locations were. And it was kind of meant to be a really simple add-on to your Google Calendar, because I know a lot of students already use their Google Calendars. So having that option to be like an add-on and just seeing, oh, I have a 1 hour slot in between my classes and USG is hosting an event in the Illinois room, like maybe I'll stop by. And I think this semester it'll be even easier or even better for students if we have these things like that and we have, let's say, recurring meeting links for general body meetings or for committee meeting hours. So let's say I put my Zoom link up on the Google Calendar, and so whoever wants to come to whoever needs to come to the committee meeting can be there, and then in the same aspect for office hours, it's the same link every time instead of having to broadcast a link to everyone and maybe missing people that were interested in coming. So I think it'd be really cool to continue to have that. But I definitely understand that there is a newsletter. So it's just kind of, I was curious on the status of how that was going to work.
Thank you. I think both ideas sound great, and it might be a good idea to have both actually, because the newsletter informs people of events, but that doesn't necessarily remind them like 5 minutes before the event starts. But also, it's great for informing people of events rather than just seeing something pop up on the calendar. So, but I saw that Jocelyn had you had your hand raised. Did you have any comments?
Oh no, that has to be a tweak on my end. Sorry about that.
No worries. Anything else? Any other comments? Okay. So if not, does anyone have any other items for discussion?
Just really quick, I did want to point out, I saw that Itana posted about navigating like to the website and working on the calendar. Itana's job, just as kind of a reminder to everybody, for when you are sending your meeting links or your event links, those are to go to Daniela like as soon as possible. And then Daniela, and because Tim is the chief of staff, Daniela and Timothy would work to make sure that these are constantly updated on the calendar. Itana really would only be coordinating the link being put on the website. And that would really be it.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything else for items for discussion?
Yes, actually. I know that the WLRC is continuing the series that was initially started last semester by USG. I was wondering if USG is still sponsoring those events, just for the fact that they are touching on very crucial and pivotal topics that USG needs to be part of. So I would like highly recommend like setting up a call or an email with them because they're still emailing me, and I said that I was going to pass on the information to you all for that fact, just because we have been talking about it too. But yeah, yeah, that was it. That was it.
Yeah, hi Jocelyn. Thank you. So yeah, we did meet with them a lot, and there's one October 7th, and the other one's October 21st, and they suggested that we continue it. So yeah, we're definitely continuing it, and like that's also part of the, or like our movement against sexual violence that we're trying to implement with Ken is also like part of the those like co-sponsoring those two events, because it like has, it's like linked to it. So yeah, we are continuing it.
Thank you. Anything else for items for discussion before we move on? Okay, so if not, we can move on to the next order of business, which is announcements. Does anyone have any announcements?
For me, it's not an announcement, but if you didn't send your report, if you could just please send that to me before kind of like the end of the day. If you can email it, send it on WhatsApp, whatever you prefer. And it doesn't have to be pretty, just kind of like if you said like the name of an organization, or if you contacted someone in a specific, kind of like all that information.
Thank you, Danny. Any comments or questions? Or any other announcements? Are you guys excited for the applicants to present next week?
Yes.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you. Okay, any other announcements? Okay, so if there are no other announcements, we can move on to the next order of business, which is adjournment. So would anyone like to motion to adjourn the meeting?
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
There has been a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. It has been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. So Jocelyn and Sampriti, you guys will need to vote if we can close this meeting. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Was that Sampriti? Was that you? Is Sampriti here?
Yeah, I think she said aye.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. The ayes have it, and the meeting will now be adjourned at 7:26 p.m. And just as a reminder, e-board stay after the meeting for our weekly meeting. Thank you. Have a great day, y'all.
All right, everyone, please be safe.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
A good one, guys.
All right, I think this is all of us. Sweet, that's awesome. I'm glad that this passed. I'm super happy that we can do the applicants and we can shake it up a little. We got 33 people as well, or 34 people that applied, so that's pretty exciting.
Wait, before you continue, could we please stop recording? I don't